guys, welcome back to the Cupcake Jemma channel. We're here at Crumbs and Doilies headquarters in Wandsworth with Sally and myself, Dane. And today we are finally going to be making the bake that you guys have been requesting for months. You've been yearning for it, crying for it. We hear you, we see you, we get it. And we're finally making the Croquembouche, which is why these are here.
To be fair, we have been promising it for like at least 2 months.
Yeah, you might have thought it was a bit of a joke, but it's finally happening. We're serious. We
just wanted to perfect it, you know?
Yeah.
So a Croquembouche is an almighty tower of profiteroles. They're filled with a delicious creme pat or a creme diplomat, and then they're all glued together with molten caramel. There's normally spun sugar all over the place. And so we are going to make one of those. Yeah. And a Croquembouche, like, it's French, obviously. They make all the good stuff, and it translates to crunch in the mouth.
But we renamed it to Crunchy Mouth, because it's a whole lot better, right?
Yeah, we're going to make a massive Crunchy Mouth tower, and it's going to be awesome. So usually these Croquembouches are made up of profiteroles, which are little kind of bite-sized choux pastry puffs, aren't they? Yeah. But we want to add to the Crunchy Mouth crunchiness for the almighty crunch. So we're actually going to be making Craquelin, which is this here. It's got a delicious, crispy, cracked topping. So we're going to get the like extra crunch. Yeah, makes it look really cool, and also it helps them rise a lot more evenly as well in the oven. Yeah, so they're going to be kind of a bit rounder, whereas normal profiteroles or puffs can be a little bit lumpy. Yeah, lumpy and bumpy here and there. Yeah, but this is a really, really easy topping to make, so I'm going to get started with that, and then Dane will come back to make the filling. Yes. So I'll see you in a bit. See you later. All right, guys, so this is really easy. We've got 4 ingredients, and we're just going to mix it together. We're not going to do anything fancy kind of techniques or anything. We're going to start with 210 grams of very, very soft unsalted butter. We want it to be soft so that it's kind of easy to mix through. So I'm going to use my mixer with the paddle attachment just because it's really pretty and I love it. But you can literally do this in a bowl with a wooden spoon or a spatula, no problem. So into here we're going to add 250 grams of light brown sugar. The light brown sugar is kind of important because it adds to the sort of caramelly taste of this. And we're going to just mix this together on a kind of low speed just till it's creamed together. And once those two have creamed together, we're going to add in a good pinch of salt. If you're using salted butter, then maybe leave this stage out. And then 250 grams of plain flour. If you don't have plain flour and you've only got self-raising flour, then go to the shop and get some plain flour because this is not going to work with self-raising. So we're just going to turn this onto the low speed again, mix it until it's a little bit crumbly. There we go. So it's almost come together, but we're just going to finish it off by hand. So just going to take out the paddle and then using a spatula, just get it all off the edges and the bottom. And this is very soft, but this is completely how it's supposed to be. So I'm going to get a bit messy. I'm going to get my hands in there and just kind of make sure it all comes together into a dough. So now we need to roll this out, and we're going to do that between 2 pieces of greaseproof paper because what we don't want to do is incorporate any more flour into this mixture. So we're going to pop in, I'm just doing half at a time, a big blob here, just going to squish it down my hands very gently. Just get some of that off my gloves, and then we're going to take the other piece of greaseproof, put it on top, and then we're going to roll it out between these 2, and we're going to keep rolling until we're at about 2mm thickness, which is pretty thin. Now, don't worry if you've kind of created a weird little shape going on in here, that's fine. We're going to chop little circles out of these. So I'm just going to do the same with my second batch here. And we probably should have mentioned this at the beginning, but obviously Dane and I are going to be making an enormous Croquembouche. But in the description box below, you'll find the quantities for a half batch as well to make a more reasonable sized Croquembouche. So let me just roll this one out as well. And now they need to go into the freezer to chill and set for at least an hour, but you can kind of prep this way far in advance if you wanted to. So you can just make sure you put it in the freezer and kind of wrap it in cling film or something to keep it airtight and leave it in there for a few days. So I'm gonna go and do that. Dano's coming along and he is going to make your filling.
Yes. So right now, guys, we're going to make the creme patissiere, which will form the creme diplomat. So in this pan, I've got 675 millilitres of whole milk, and to that I'm going to add some vanilla extract. Just 1 teaspoon. That will give it some nice flavour. And then I'm going to crack some eggs into this bowl. We've got 2 large eggs, and I'm going to do 2 large egg yolks as well. And if you want to find out a little bit more detail about how to make creme patissiere, I actually already did a tutorial on the Cupcake Jemma channel. So just search creme patissiere, it's on our Tuesday tips, and I'll talk you through it in a bit more detail in that video. So that is those. And there's also an egg cracking video. So there's a few different, doing all the tips, a few different ways on how to separate your eggs. So to that, I'm going to add my caster sugar and also corn flour as well. If you don't have corn flour or you can't find it, sometimes it's called cornstarch, you could use plain flour, it will work just as well. Just going to whisk this all together by hand until it's nice and pale and fluffy, and we'll wait for our milk to get to a simmer. So once you've whisked this with brute strength, it should be nice and thick, pale and glossy like that. My milk has come to a simmer, so I'm just going to slowly pour it over this mixture and whisk at the same time. That's all in, so now I'm going to pour it back into the pan, get it back on the heat, and I'm just going to whisk it on a medium heat until it starts to thicken. When you cook this out, you want to make sure you whisk it the whole entire time. So this is thickened up now, but you know when it's done when you can leave it and it starts to bubble from the bottom like a volcano or something about to erupt. And we'll take it off of the heat, and I've got a separate bowl and a fine sieve, and I'm just going to pass it through the sieve just to get rid of any eggy lumps that might have settled at the bottom. This is smelling really delicious, nice and custardy, a bit like ice cream. Just going to scrape the little bits from the bottom of the sieve because we don't want to waste any of this. And I've just got a little square of cling film which I'm just going to push right onto the custard. This will just help prevent a film from forming over the creme pat, and we'll leave it on the side just to cool down a little bit, then we'll pop it into the fridge to chill completely. And on comes Sally with the ingredients, because now we're going to make these little choux balls.
Here she comes, and she's not going to drop a thing.
Heavy. Looks a little heavy.
It's a little heavy. I've not worked out in a while.
This is your workout.
This is my workout. Yay, it is choux bun time. So we're going to make the little Craquelin balls here. Yeah. A few months ago now, we did a cream puff video, which goes into loads of detail about choux, but we will give you as many hints and tips as we can.
Yes.
And choux are actually a lot easier than I think people think it is. Like, it feels like a little bit scary because bits of it all happen at once, but honestly,
it'll be fine.
it's fine.
We've got you.
We've got you. Right, so the first thing that we need to do is melt together our water and our butter.
Yeah. So this is just unsalted butter going straight in. It doesn't need to be cold, doesn't need to be soft, it's going to be melted anyway.
And then we've got a little bit of sugar here, just to sweeten it. It's not essential, but I think some sugar kind of is essential.
Yeah.
And the same with the salt as well. Don't forget, we've put full recipe description down below, so go and have a look at that. So we need to melt these together, and we're going to do it over a low heat to begin with, because we don't want it to boil before the butter has melted. And as soon as it has melted together, we're going to turn it up to a boil.
Okay, so this has come to the boil. Take it off, and we're going to dump in the plain flour.
Yep, so you're going to get it all straight in, make sure it's already sifted, and then we're going to beat this really, really quickly to bring it all together. It looks a little bit funky, a little bit porridgey, but it's kind of supposed to look like that. So just get in there with your wooden spoon.
Okay, so beaten really vigorously, and it should kind of look like a bit of a glutinous mashed potato.
Yeah, it's really kind of smooth though, isn't it?
Yeah, super smooth. And I'm going to switch from the wooden spoon to a spatula because we're going to put it back on the heat, and what we're going to do is just press the choux against the bottom of the pan. So you don't want to stir it too much, because what we want to do is cook out the flour until a film kind of forms on the bottom, and it'll go a little bit crusty. So you don't want to incorporate that into the rest of the paste, because then you'll get kind of lumps in your choux. This is ready. It's a little bit drier than it was before, and the amount of water that has evaporated out has left us with a nice dough, and you can see that from the bottom of the pan, it's got that kind of little bit of crust at the bottom, and you don't want to scrape away at that because then, as I said, you get the lumps in your choux.
Ew, lumpy choux.
Nasty.
Right, so now we're going to include some eggs into this, but we do not want to put eggs right into this because it's going to cook the eggs and scramble them, and that is going to be gross.
Yeah.
So we need to cool this down. So if we're going to pop this into our stand mixer bowl here, and what Dane's going to do is just spread it up the edges of the bowl just to kind of help it cool down, like so. And you can sort of see all the steam that's coming out of it here, and we just want to cool it down until we see no steam. Now in the meantime, I'm going to crack the eggs. So the amount of eggs that you add to your choux can kind of change each time because it completely depends how much water we've cooked out of it already. So I'm going to start with 7 eggs, but we might add an extra 1, maybe 2, but hopefully it'll just be 7.
Yeah.
And we're going to put them into a large bowl and whisk them. Do you want to whisk?
Sure.
I'll crack. This just kind of helps to combine them so that it's not kind of relying on the mixer. Oh gosh, I didn't think my bowl situation through very well. That's 6, and then we'll just add 1 more in there.
Our dough has cooled down now, and I'm just going to scrape around so it's all in the centre of the bowl. Sally, this is ready for the mixer.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, it's cooled down, but it's not cold, don't worry. You don't need to let it like completely cool down. We just don't want it to be like super hot.
Yes.
So mixer's going on, and you can again do this by hand really easily. You don't need to use the mixer, but I'm going to put this onto the lowest speed, and then we're going to add our egg a little blob at a time. Wait for each one to get incorporated before adding the next. So once you've added almost all of your egg, we're just gonna test the consistency, because if you put too much egg in, then you can't really go backwards. Like, you can't put more flour into this. It's not gonna work. Your choux gonna be ruined. So best to not put all your egg in. And we're gonna test the consistency by grabbing the paddle or your spatula, dunking it into the mixture, and pulling it out. And what you want your mixture to look like is glossy. That's the first sign that it's ready. But the second sign is that it's pulling into this V shape like this, which it is. And then lastly, we want to make sure that it's not too runny by dragging our finger through the batter to create this kind of trench. And if the sides fall in, then you've gone too far. But I'm going to say that I think we need to add a little bit more egg because it's holding the V, but it's not super glossy.
No.
So I'm going to go back on with the paddle, and we're just going to add a little bit more egg until we get to the glossy stage, but it's still holding its shape. Okay, let's have a look and see. It's looking pretty glossy, and we've got that V. This looks amazing.
Yes.
Super
Incredible.
delicious. So actually at this stage, choux can be stored. You could put this into your piping bag and just pop your piping bag into the fridge and leave it until tomorrow to pipe out. But we're going to pipe ours out right now.
Yes. And we've made some templates as well. Well, just one that we're going to reuse for all 3 trays, using this cutter, which is a 1-inch cutter from the PME set that you can get on CupcakeJemma.com. And we've just drawn around on some greaseproof with a pen, an edible food pen, onto the sheet, and then we'll pop this underneath the sheet that we're going to pipe onto, slide it out when we're ready, and use it for the next 2.
Because we want to get like super perfect choux buns here, because we've got to build a tower.
Yes, the more uniform they are, the more structurally sound our croquembouche is going to be. All
right, just grab that piping bag then,
yeah.
and I will pop this in. So we've got a reusable piping bag here, and the nozzle that we've got on the end is a 12mm round nozzle. Oop, and in it goes.
Thanks, Sally.
You are welcome. So let's pop this first template under here. And now I'm just going to stick this down with some magnets like this, but you can just use a little bit of batter to stick your sheet down.
Yeah.
But our ovens here are like intense, so that's why I'm using the magnet. Off you go. Pipe away.
Cool. So I'm just going to keep my piping bag nice and vertical. So even pressure, building up, and I'm going to flick off so that we get a nice flat top.
You can tell he's the macaron king, can't you? Like, look at that action.
Sally, don't speak to me, I'm trying to concentrate.
So the more even your piped choux is, the more even your little puffs are going to be. So what I'm going to do is go around following Dane. I've got some cold water here. I'm going to dab my finger very gently in it. And I'm just going to dab down the little flicks that are on the top of each of these choux. And that's just going to help make these as even and as round as possible. Let's get this template out. So if I hold,
And
you
I'll
whip.
swipe.
Oh my gosh, here we go. We're magicians as well. So we're actually going to be piping out around 90 to 100 puffs. Because like I said, we're making a massive one, but if you're doing the half quantity, you probably want to get around 45 to 50 of them. Alrighty, so we're actually not going to bake these straight away. We have found, after doing quite a lot of testing on this, that leaving the choux at this stage for about 15 to 20 minutes actually helps them to puff even more.
Yeah.
So we're going to go away, we're going to put the oven on now because that's 15 to 20 minutes of it preheating, and we're going to go for 200 degrees C, which is hot.
Hot.
Real hot, but that's what makes these puff.
Yeah.
So we'll see you back here in about 20 minutes and we'll get our crackling on. Alrighty. Alright guys, it is time to add the crackling to the top of our little choux poops. So take this out of the freezer. And now you want to choose a circle cutter that is the same size as your choux blobs, which is another reason why you want to try and get these as even as possible. So I've got this one here, and you can see if we just kind of hold it over, there we go, it looks about the right size for it there. So what we're going to do is chomp this out. It can feel a little bit hard because it's obviously frozen, but it's fine. Ooh, she says. And then if I chomp,
Yeah.
you can plop them on top. There we go. So just want to make sure that they're kind of nice and flat.
Yeah, and nice and central as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just give it a little squish down.
I find it so amazing that this is going to turn into this.
Yeah, and it's very satisfying, isn't it? Looking at them all piped
Yeah,
out.
they do. They look lovely, and they're going to look even better because basically what's going to happen is the really hot oven is going to create loads of steam from inside of these, and they're going to puff out. And actually, let me just break this in half. Oh, I don't know if I can.
Yes.
Yeah, look at that. And what you're going to end up with is this massive hollow kind of shell, which we're going to put the Creme Diplomat filling into. So it's pretty awesome. I love this. Right, so we're going to go into the oven. It's set to 200 degrees C, and we're going to put them in for initial 20 minutes. Oh my golly gosh. Look at these little guys. They are so round and so perfect. Now after 20 minutes, they've kind of stopped growing and rising. They've kind of formed their shape, but we want to make sure that they are as crispy as possible. So we're just going to poke a few holes in them to kind of release a bit of the steam to make sure that they are crunchy mouth.
Crunchy mouth. I'm just using a skewer as well. You can get like a cake skewer, or you could use cocktail stick, something, a small kind of implement like this.
Okie doke. They're going to go back in the oven now for a further 5 minutes just to make sure they are going to be completely dry and crisp inside. And then once they finish baking, we're going to turn the oven off, open the door and let them cool down inside the oven. Amazing, right? Honestly, we are so happy with these. They're so even, they're so round, and I bet they're really hollow as well. Ready? Let's break one open. You can hear it crunch. Whoa. I love it.
Look at that. That's insane. And we sorted them out as well. So you can see we put them in this kind of pyramid shape. So what we did is started from the top and then we worked our way down. We just paired them together so that we put equal sizes together, and then we just went in rows, and so we dropped a number each time. So it goes from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4.
All the way to 12, so we're going to have 12 at the base. So now we're ready to fill them and dip them.
Yes, so I've got my creme pat here that I made earlier. It's cooled, it's been in the fridge, and I weighed it because with Creme Diplomat, you want to have the same amount of cream to whip as your pastry cream. So this is 815 grams, and I've got 815 grams here of double cream. And to that, I'm just going to add a tablespoon and a half of icing sugar just to sweeten it a little bit. And I'm just going to give it a whisk by hand. You can do this with an electric whisk, but they're pretty strong, so I'm just going to go with this.
Whenever I used to whip cream with a hand whisk, Dane would give me like the dirtiest look.
No, but you know what, guys? I love whipping cream by hand because you can feel when it's ready. There's no danger, kind of over whipping it.
Yeah, that is actually quite true.
Yeah.
With an electric whisk, it can it can get overdone really quickly.
Yeah, and it doesn't take very long.
Right. It doesn't take that long, but it does take a little bit of time. So what I'm going to do is get the caramel ready, because we're going to dip these all in caramel so they've got a gorgeous, even crunchier topping, and then we also need caramel to glue it all together. So in this saucepan here, I've got a really heavy base pan on the hob. I've got 2 cups of water, so 500 mils, and then into that, this is a lot of sugar, but we need a lot of caramel, so whatever. We've got 900 grams of white sugar. So that's going to go in, and what we're going to do is just get that boiling over a medium heat, and we want to keep it going until it's just about turning amber.
Look at that, didn't take long at all. It's nice and softly whipped. This is not over whipped at all. It looks so good, nice and light, fluffy and smooth. So now what we're going to do is just pop it into our creme pat. A little bit at a time though, so we're just going to soften this mixture because the creme pat is quite heavy. We want to loosen it so that it makes it easier to mix in the rest of the double cream. So I'm just going to vigorously whisk this bit in to get it nice and smooth, and then we'll add in the rest of the double cream. Oh, hell to the yes!
Oh my
Look
God.
at that. That is absolute heaven.
It absolutely is. Like, if you really like pastry cream, you are gonna love this, because it's like still super custardy, but it's lighter.
Yeah.
And it's just like you can eat more of it.
Yes.
It's amazing.
And we are going to eat lots. Now this looks like quite a lot. You're going to have a little bit left over, but it's always best to have a little bit more than 2 less.
Yeah.
So get the piping bag and fill it up. I'm just fitted it with a small round nozzle as well.
Okay, so while Dane does that, I will start prepping his buns. So we're going to fill them from underneath, so in here, so that you don't see and isn't like going to ooze out the front or anything. So what I got first is this little paring knife, and I'm just popping it in and giving it a little wiggle, which is just making a hole, which is going to make it easier for him to pop his nozzle in there. So there you go.
Thank you. And I'm just placing it straight in, holding it down like this, and you want to apply quite a bit of pressure and keep squeezing until you can feel the ball getting a little bit heavier, and then pull it out, just like that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my caramel started to bubble, but it's going to take a little bit of time to get there because this is such a huge quantity. So we're just going to leave it simmering away, keeping an eye on it. Always keep an eye on your caramel. Do not walk away, because that is like crazy hot sugar, and it's really dangerous. So as you can see, this caramel has started to go amber, and we don't want to take this too far, okay? We want to, once it gets to the right color, which I'll show you in like 5 seconds, we're going to turn the heat off. We're going to leave it on the hob, but we don't want it to go too dark, so it'll be really crunchy and a bit too bitter.
Yeah.
And then we're going to dip straight into this pan. So here is our disclaimer. This is dangerous. Like, no jokes, I know I'm smiling. This is dangerous. This is hot molten sugar, and if you get this on you or anyone else, it burns. Like, honestly, we've all been there, and it's horrible. If you do burn yourself, under cold water, go, 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 go. So just be really, really careful. I'm gonna be using my fingers to dip, but I would recommend, if this is your first time or second time or 5th time, use a pair of tongs and a pair of heat-proof gloves as well. There we go.
Yes.
Safety disclaimer done.
Yeah.
So I think, do you want to come in and just have a little look at this colour of the caramel? There you go. See? It's beautiful and amber. So I'm going to turn the heat off now, and I'm just going to let it sit for a little bit, just so it kind of calms down. It's not bubbling away, and once it's calmed, we'll start dipping. And in the meantime...
Yeah, in the meantime, so we've just filled these, but some of them have come over the top of the edge a little bit. So what we're going to do is just take a palette knife and scrape it off so it's nice and flat like that, because Sally is going to dip them this way, not like that in the caramel. Dip them this way, turn them upside down and sit them on their bottoms on here, so we don't want all the cream mushing everywhere.
Lovely. Right, come on. Oh, don't touch that, Sally. Let's just give this a little swirl to get rid of some of those bubbles. And what we'll find is, whilst the caramel is sitting here, because we've got the hob off, it is going to start to kind of set. And at that stage, we'll turn the hob back on to a low heat, just to get a little bit of warmth going through from the bottom of the pan to make sure it stays liquid. Oh my gosh, this looks like the perfect color. You ready?
Ready.
Okay, here we go. So holding it just by the very top here, and we're just gonna dip the lid in. Do not go too far. And then we're just gonna hold it up and let a little bit of the excess drip off so that it's not gonna run down when we take it off. And this is gonna set pretty quickly. So then we'll take it out and sit it there, and look how gorgeous that is. That's like the perfect color, a gorgeous shine, and it's gonna go lovely and crunchy, hence crunchy mouth. So there we go. And if you were to drop one in your caramel, whatever you do, do not pick it out with your fingers. Grab a spoon or something large to scoop it out with. Right, this is probably going to take us a long time, so montage!
They look beautiful.
They are amazing.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, crispy little mouths. So we're finished here, guys. We're done.
That's it.
Kidding! It is time to build.
Yes.
Let's get this bad boy built. So we've got our turntable, because turntables make everything easier to, like, we can see what we're doing as we're going.
Yeah.
And we've laid out our first ring of 12, so we know exactly where we want to place it, because foundations is the key to a beautifully structured, amazing croquembouche.
Yeah, and the caramel will set hard, so once you've placed your balls, you won't be able to move them. So you need to know exactly where they're going to go. Exactly,
that's very true. So we've got some caramel left here, and we're going to, one by one, gently pick up a ball. We're going to dip its little butt into the caramel, obviously still being very careful. And then we're going to place it back onto the board like so. So I am going to dip, and Dane is going to make this look amazing. The pressure is on, boy.
Pressure is on, but we got this.
We have got this. Round 1, complete. So we're now going to go on to round 2. When we put these ones on top, we're going to kind of put them in the little gaps like this. And I would say that it's probably best to pick a front and always build from the front so that you know that your front is always going to be perfect. And if they don't quite meet up or you need to put some fillers in, then do that all at the back rather than like all over the place. So choose a front and stick to the front.
Yes.
Ready?
This is our front.
That's our front. Okay, here we go. So we've literally got 3 more to put on. So I'm gonna stick the 2 here together, and then we're gonna dunk them, and then we're gonna put it on top. Oh my God. Oh, it's so beautiful. 1 more to put on. Here he goes. We need a song. Da, da, da. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Is it gonna fall off? Please don't fall off.
I'll hold it here for a few seconds.
Right, so we have assembled, but we have not finished.
No.
No, I think the best part of a croquembouche and the most fun part is covering it in spun sugar.
Oh yes.
It's probably the most dangerous part as well. So I'm gonna dip my fork into the caramel, and then we're literally just going to wiggle the fork around.
And you can do as much or as little as this as you like.
Once you're done, you might want to re-dip the fork and go again. Here we go. And it does set pretty quickly, and it actually, as it sets, it cools, so that it's not kind of too dangerous.
It's kind of mesmerizing.
It really is. It kind of looks a little bit like a spider's web. It's beautiful. Who's going to go first?
I think you should go first.
Okay. I just need 1 more spin.
Yeah, just one last look of all in its glory. It looks insane. We spent a lot of hours doing this.
It's our little crunchy mouth baby. Right, okay. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Ready? Okay. You're going
I'm
to grab
gonna have
2.
to do the 2.
That's why you said, oh, you go first. Ready? I want you to like hear this crunch. Oh my gosh.
Wow. That filling is so light and creamy.
And vanilla-y.
And then you got the crunch from the caramel. It's sweet.
It's smooth.
Yep.
That is crazy smooth.
The pastry is crunchy. It's nice and thin.
Do you know what? Also, the Craquelin kind of adds to the caramelliness of it. It's like ultimate caramel. Oh, it's amazing. And that filling, honestly, I will never fill anything with creme pat again. I'm always going for Creme Diplomat because
very good.
It is so light.
We have to demolish all of this now.
I literally don't mind. What is it, like 80? That's 40 each.
8, yeah.
Or maybe Sam can have like 2.
He can have, yeah, a little bit of that.
I'm kidding. Oh my goodness. This was amazing. And this was so much fun. I mean, we've been here all day.
All day.
Working on nearly 12 hours.
Yeah.
And it's completely worth it. So if you are going to make this at home, like give yourself time. You can make your pastry cream and stuff the day before. Enjoy it as well. Like just have a blast. And I also would recommend if you are going to make it, check out some of our other videos. So we've got the cream puff recipe, the creme tissue, and the caramel masterclass, just to sort of like get a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more understanding of the different sort of parts to this.
Yeah.
To give you a bit more confidence, but just have fun because
Yeah.
it's brilliant and it's so beautiful. I mean,
It's incredible.
you won't want to eat it.
No.
But
if you do make it though, yeah, make sure you share your photos on social media. Hashtag CupcakeJemma and at CupcakeJemma and at Crumbs and Doilies as well.
Yes.
So we can see them and share them and revel in the
in your
gorgeousness.
glory. Yeah, absolutely. Literally can't wait to see you guys baking this.
Yeah.
And make sure that you, if you haven't, this is your first video on the Cupcake Jemma channel, hit the subscribe button. It's just down here somewhere. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Trying to grab your pastry. And there's a little bell as well. If you click that bell, you'll get a notification every time we upload a video, which next week we are going to be doing a New York cheesecake. Like my all-time favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. I've been baking them all last week for practice, but mainly just so I can eat it.
I had some the other day, I can confirm. Best cheesecake I've eaten. So,
Oh my god!
Yeah.
So tune in next Thursday for that.
Yeah.
And just enjoy, guys.
Yeah.
Have a blast because we have, and we've just got to eat this now.
Yes. Now we've got all this to eat.
We have got a lot to eat.
I'm not complaining.
I'm not complaining. Mmm. Crunchy.
Very crunchy.